Hello, everyone. We are here figuring out a new seating arrangement a little bit.
Yes, I am super close to the mic today.
And I'm sitting like a foot and a half away from it because I'm just so stupid loud.
Yeah. Well, I've been yelling at children all day, so
Last day of school.
Yes,
I imagine a lot of yelling would have been happening.
last Friday before winter break is always wild, especially when you're making ornaments, and so it was extra chaotic with beads and clay and everything.
There's a little more freedom on the end of the students, so
Yes.
there's a little more chaos that goes with that.
I was working with small groups, which meant the rest of the class was just having a free-for-all.
Oh,
And,
boy.
Most classes are good, so they can just sit in their spots and do free drawing while they talk to their friends. But depending on the group, free drawing, they think means wrestling and talking to their friends. So,
Free drawing does not mean free reign.
yeah, my fifth graders, I told them I would keep all of their ornaments and give them to the neighborhood if they kept being awful.
Ooh.
So they all sat down and did their work.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, I didn't know what else to do because half of them, they know that I'm not super fluent in Spanish. So I can call and have a somewhat coherent conversation with their parents, but it doesn't have the same effect as if I was fluent. So like calling their parents does not always really scare them, especially
Doesn't
when they're
drive the point home.
especially when they're spoiled.
Yep.
So I was just like, you know what? No, this is the power I have. I can keep all of your hard work and give it away to somebody who is much nicer and who donates to the school. Or you can listen to me and do your work and take your stuff. And they listened, so that was nice.
All right.
But that being said, they're very loud and my voice is gone.
All right.
So
Let me know if you need me to take over on reading the
Will
reviews
do.
at some point.
All right.
We're starting off with Chaos Control 85, who has become a regular at this point. So good to see you back, man.
Right. Chaos Control 85. Something tells me that after what happens on Nabu, he is gonna want to propose properly as soon as they get back instead of waiting for the new year. Diving scores while watching the Titanic. I wonder what score they gave the one that hit the propeller on the way down. That's literally, bro. I had the same thought.
I feel like Kaminari gave him a 0 and Kurai gave him a 7 for trying.
Glad to see the angsty TNT is still blowing up everything in his explosive personality, despite toning it down to acceptable levels.
TNT, and I've not seen that one before. That's new. I've not seen that before. That's hilarious.
Taking a guess at a plot twist at the end. The recording, quote unquote, is actually being created to be handed down to his child or children in case of his demise, so his children aren't kept in the dark unnecessarily like he was. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that one. And or is being played by him or while he's in the room or close by to either trick someone into revealing something to close a case. He already has technically died already after training camp incident, or his quote unquote death in the future will be similar / identical / far enough into the future that his grandkids or great grandkids are hearing the tales of his epic beginning.
I will confirm or deny that being the case. That's a really interesting theory, though. I give you props for.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
For coming up with that.
Can't wait for the next chapter, regardless of how long it takes. Without your health, without your health, there is no fic, which will make everybody sad for several reasons.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, dude, we were sick for like a long time, and I feel like I'm
surprised I was actually able to like pull off recording the last chapter. Like this chapter, I've been fine.
Oh yeah.
The last chapter, I was like, I got it done, but I could catch myself like starting to go.
He had like no voice. I know that they're calling it the tri-pandemic in our town because we're having everyone was so quarantined that it destroyed our immune systems because no one was exposed to anything. So we actually, all of our hospitals are like at max capacity.
Well, they're on overflow. They're setting up tents outside because they just don't have any beds anymore. Like all the kids are on intubators because they just can't breathe.
Yeah, it's really
like
sad.
The emergency room wait time is like a full 24 hours, like a full day.
And the people who are on ventilators, it's RSV, the influenza A, and COVID simultaneously. So what's happening is, and it's all kids. So what's happening is all these kids have never been exposed to these germs in their lives because they've been so isolated, and all of a sudden their bodies are being bombarded. And like all of my students have been sick. It's been really sad and really scary, and that's why we keep picking stuff up, because I'm a teacher, and so every
I feel
little
like we
bug.
I feel like we just got one of those, like a flu, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but it lasted so long. I feel like it was a couple things. I don't know what it was, but anyway, yes, thank you for caring. We've been I feel like everyone in our town has been sick. It's really insane, and I know, talking to family who's in other places in the States, they're having similar issues. So, anyway, hope it's not the case for you guys wherever you're at. Anyway, thank you, Chaos Control 85. Sorry, he scrolled, so I couldn't see the handle anymore.
My bad.
All right, next review. Oh man, I may need you to take this one because
Endeavor to be All Might like doesn't review very often, but whenever he does or she does, it's a freaking novella.
It's a fantastic review, but I can tell you right now, I'm fatigued and I'm going to lose my place. So I'm going to let the person who can actually like read coherently do this.
All right, let's give this a crack. So, Endeavor to be All Might says, spoilers for the story in this review. Skip ahead if you want to read with fresh eyes. This seems like a good pausing point for me to sum up my thoughts on the story since my last review. I'll be honest, the Kai versus Class 1A felt a little self-indulgent to me. It was a fun read, and I could see what you were going for. It just felt like it didn't really need to happen. Okay. I suppose I would liken it to the Kenobi series for the Star Wars franchise. How dare you! Sorry, I'll try to contain myself. It wasn't even boring. To the contrary, it was fun. It had great moments, but I didn't feel like it needed to happen in order to drive the story forward. Okay. All right. I guess I could see that. I mean, I love the Kenobi series, so
A lot of people hate on it, and I genuinely don't know why. I think it's just because we love Kenobi in any form. So,
my biggest complaint with the show is the third sister. I was like, I get what they were going for, but they didn't pull it off very well.
Yeah, I think the best part with her was when she thought she was going to.
Oh, that was hilarious!
Like, put
Vader
a scratch on
Vader.
Vader.
His own lightsaber. He just like breaks hers in half and forces her to duel with his. Oh my!
That was beautiful.
That was amazing. That was the funniest thing I saw.
But yes, I know a lot of people feel that way about Kenobi, and whatever. Tiny Leia was freaking amazing.
Oh yeah,
and
she was one of the absolute highlights of the show.
A phenomenal child actress. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah. Oh my god. Wait, did people not like her?
Her
acting was spot on.
Seriously, and I mean, I work with kids, and I know how hard it is to get a kid to act well as a fine arts teacher who works with a lot of like theater teachers, and so it's just, oh man, I'm so impressed with her. Anyway, sorry. Tangent.
Anyway, so didn't feel like it needed to happen in order to drive the story forward. Let's see. I suppose an argument can be made for those chapters helping to show where Kradai's headspace is at the moment, which I can certainly appreciate. If you had tried to fit that in with the Class A versus B arc on top of what was already going on, I guess that could have been a bit cramped in terms of narration. Yeah. I mean, I did want to take a minute to see like where he was in his headspace. And narratively, there were the teachers were trying to figure out like how big of a threat is this kid if something does go wrong with him. So like that, and yeah, maybe there was a little bit of self-indulgence happening there, but this is fan fiction. I don't see any problem with fan service.
See, and for me, as you know, you guys know, I'm not really into the big action sequences. So that's one thing about Shonen where I'm like, oh, are we doing another tournament?
You've been kind of getting into it with Black Clover.
I know. I think I've seen enough that I'm into it at this point.
Okay.
But, the first few Shonen animes you watch, it's like, really, how long is this going to last before we move the plot forward, Yeah. So I can totally get the sentiment there because I think I actually felt similarly. I enjoyed it once I heard it, but when I heard that you were doing that, I was like, really, buddy? Are we doing this? But it's like, because I want to get to the meat of the story. I want to know what happens next. That's the kind of reader I am. And like, it's not that I'm not enjoying the ride, but the big action sequences are not always, they're not really what keep me reading.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. To each their own. And I think Endeavor to be All Might has mentioned a couple times that they're they're looking for different things in the story than it seems like the rest of the audience is. So
Which is good, because we have a diverse
the fact that they're still here and leaving reviews like this, just kind of, that's great. I'm glad that I'm attracting different demographics. Let's see. So moving on, Eri fitting in with the group dynamic was quite sweet, and her admiration for Kurai feels well earned by his own merits, as opposed to just having him as a tag-on with Deku. His role as Akarui's elder brother seems to have him well prepared for this new development. I do hope to see them interact more often as the story progresses, because it's not often that I find a story with an adopted sibling dynamic that doesn't make me cringe. Yes, there are adopted siblings in this canon. Aizawa adopted her, and he's technically Kurai's legal guardian. It counts. I'll fight anyone who tells me otherwise.
I had not even thought of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, technically that's true, I guess. That's hilarious. I hadn't thought of that. Let's see. Here's normally the part where I'd get on about how I don't really care for the romance aspects of the stories in general, but I did want to leave my thoughts on Ashido and Kurai getting engaged, because it will obviously have far-reaching effects on the story, especially if he dies before they can actually get married. It makes sense to me that this happened, and I actually kind of approve of this move. Surprised? Yes. I had a friend of mine in high school who got engaged during our senior year because her boyfriend was in the Marines and they wanted to get married before he got deployed. It certainly took me by surprise, as well as many of our friends. Most of them tried to talk her out of it, saying that she was rushing into it because she was scared about what might happen, but she did not listen to them. Contrary to what many of our friends thought would happen, they're still happily married 10 years later.
Nice.
Dude, that's awesome. I'd say they're doing better than most of the people who dismissed her thoughts on the matter at the time. I was honestly so taken aback by the whole thing that I never really had anything credible to say at the time, but I am happy for them and the way things turned out for them. I suppose this struck a familiar chord for me, so I can't find a reason to criticize it. Ashido and Kurai may have come up with the idea on the spur of the moment, but given how methodical he is in most aspects of his life, I can't really see him going through it if he has a good reason for backing out. Thanks to the prologue, I know this cannot possibly end well for either of them, but since they lack said foresight, they don't really have a reason to think that this is a bad idea. Heaven help Ashido when Kurai dies, though. Yeah, that's cool,
interesting.
Though. Okay,
and I think
I was not expecting that.
Our culture tends to throw young romances under the bus because, and often teenage love stories are cringe and driven by a lot of foolishness. But it really depends on the people, because, I mean, this guy knew he was going to marry me at 15 and informed me a week after we met that he was going to marry me. So I was like, okay, either he's psychotic or it's a God thing.
Little did she know it was both.
It was both. But that's really cool, because it does happen. Those childhood romances, they're rare, but they do happen, and that's
really cool.
Yeah, that's
really
cool. Good for your friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. Kurai replacing Bakugo in the discussions concerning One for All is another dynamic shift that I appreciate. In the canon, I understand why Bakugo is a part of these talks. He's the only other one who's figured their secret out and even has valid points to make. But circumstances, as well as But in this canon, where Deku has a few more options to consult with, it only makes sense that he would turn to Kurai, who has similar circumstances, as well as a keen intellect that doesn't come packaged with resentment toward him. I am concerned that Akarui's involvement might make learning the other quirks a little too easy for Deku, but you have a habit of finding a convincing reason to make things equally difficult for our heroes, so I'll let that concern rest for now. I've got something in mind for that. Don't worry. Let's see. Having seen some of Ruby Ice Queendom, I have expected you to bring in Team Juniper to even out the class numbers as either exchange students or as transfers from another Japanese school, but it seems like that's not happening. I was tempted to do so, but if I brought Team Juniper in now, I would definitely feel like it was rushed. It's not the right time. So if I bring them in, it just, you know how, like, you guys know how I am. Like, the timing has to be right on this stuff. Like, I don't want to rush anything. Let's see, but that's a good thought. That's a good thought. I had thought about that. Let's see. I did appreciate the effort you put into making some more characters to accompany Shinzo into his application test, and I like how you handled each individual when it came to their assessment by Eraserhead and Vlad King. The callback to the doctor who saved Kodai's life was a well-placed Easter egg that I certainly did not expect, but fit into the narrative quite easily and smoothly. I went back and read the chapter where Kodai was in the hospital after losing his arm to refresh the context for myself, and now I can see how you were probably foreshadowing Akabane's appearance in this story at some point. I was. This was a really good place to do it, and I'm curious about what she will bring to the story when she and the other applicant students return. So yeah, I definitely was planning for that. Yeah, I was originally I had always planned to include her in the Class A versus Class B arc once I found out about her character, because again, she's not mine. She was lent to me from the original creator. But I decided it would be more natural to like kind of name drop her from someone who would be more relevant to the story at the time, which was her father, who in the original story that they come from, he is a doctor, he is a surgeon. So I figured that was when Kodai was about to die, it was a good place to put him in, which paves the way for her coming in later. Even though it's been a while since that chapter. That was like chapter 30 something, I think, and here we are sitting on chapter 72, 73.
Dang.
Yeah. Let's see. Sorry. Kodai's handling of Monoma was wonderfully subtle and overt simultaneously. I loved how he showed that it's not the quirk alone, it's the person who makes the power great. I have this idea that he low-key let Monoma copy Energon so he'd have excuse not to hold back, but that might just be me. He didn't let it happen, but we'll call it a happy coincidence for him. Yeah, if he had let Monoma do it, he would have just straight up stood there and been like, "Here, come on, take it, see what you can do with it." But he knew that wouldn't be a good idea. But yeah, once Monoma copied the quirk, he's like, "All right, kid gloves can come off." Let's see. Even if that was the case, it's pretty obvious that he didn't go all out when he had the opportunity to do so, which I'm pretty sure will be eating Monoma up. The indisputable fact that he's just not worth the effort from someone he considers less than himself. So in holding back, Kodai is rubbing it in his face. Subtlety and overtness accomplished together. That and the fact that you waited so long to deliver the comeuppance made this a delightful payoff.
Yay.
Well done. Okay, so like at first I was like, how do you be subtle and overt at the same time? But okay, that makes sense. So thank you for elaborating on that. Let's see. I know I expressed concerns about Akuduri's involvement concerning One for All earlier, but I am quite glad whenever he does appear, so I'll take it. His casual roasting of Kodai is always appreciated, and it's good to see that his health seems to have at least stabilized instead of continuing to deteriorate. I'm still waiting to hear about that Akuduri spinoff. It might happen, dude. It might happen. Both his and Ida's reactions to the engagement were heartwarming to witness. It's truly great to see how the two future heroes have managed to mend their friendship from where it was nearly torn so long ago. Ida has come to learn that Kodai is not the same person that he started the school year with, and that he has different goals and things that make him happy. He's learned to respect these things, which I'm sure will make him a more competent leader going forward. Likewise, Kodai has learned to forgive and accept that while there is nothing that can undo past wrongs, it's no reason to give room for worse wrongs to be committed between friends. Speaking of learning to forgive, it seems that he's not only moving towards forgiving his mother, but also himself for what had to be done. I don't imagine that if he were given a second chance, he would do that moment any differently, but it was still a very difficult thing for him to go through with, as well as enduring the consequences that came with it. If he had if he had another chance to do it, he knows he'd do the same thing. He'd do the same thing again, because he knows that's what needed to be done. For him, there was no two ways about it. Let's see. So he is definitely learning to forgive himself. He's starting to learn that anyways at this point in the story, which will be good for him going forward. Side note, I want more Shuken. Give me a story where Akuduri is the main character and Shuken is his sidekick.
Yes.
It could be any type of genre and it would turn into a comedy on its own. Give me. I want it. Please give me it.
I know. Shuken, especially with Mina.
Oh my god.
They are just...
That would just be too much chaos.
They're such a dynamic duo, though. I love it. And then just having Akuduri right there. The three of them were just...
They would never get anything done. They'd just be too busy roasting each other or everybody else around them.
Mm-hmm. You just need an Omaki where they're doing a interview show or something.
Oh, no. I might have to do that at some point.
like how Naruto has all the little talk shows.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Shippuden, I love that. Let's see. Seriously, how did you make a story where I like the side characters just as much, if not more, than the main guy?
Same, buddy.
Oh man, you guys are really pushing for that Akadori solo spinoff, aren't you? Let's see. All things seem to be coming together quite well, which almost leads me to wonder if the end might be approaching for our hero. He's engaged to the girl of his dreams, he's unlocked 6 of 7 chakras, he's repaired his relationships with his mother and Ida, and the country loves him. Things are just going too well for something bad not to happen, and given how good all of that is... Kodai mentions at the beginning of the story that events leading up to his death have something to do with a villain who can steal quirks. He doesn't mention Shigaraki or All for One by name, which means that 9 could well be the one to do him in. Interesting thought. I can't really see 9 overpowering him though, so maybe I'm wrong about this. The only way I can see him beating Kodai is if he manages to get the jump on him to steal Energon before he even knows what he's really up against. I know we've had Kodai promise Ashido that he won't go into a battle that he has no chance of winning, but I get the feeling that if his powers were stolen, it wouldn't stop Kodai from trying to do everything he could to keep everyone safe, which would end very badly for him. Man, people are starting to come up with some interesting ideas for what the end game might be. Not a bad thought. Definitely, that's not a bad thought at all. You guys are trying to fish me out for the ending here. I'm not gonna do it. You guys are good, but I'm not doing it. Let's see. All that said, I'll be surprised if I'm proven right. You have a talent for misdirect, so to have all these red flags, so to speak, popping up really has me second guessing my own suppositions. Whatever comes next, I'm sure it will be great. You do excellent work, and when you get excited for a story, and it's very easy to tell how excited you are for this next part. Best of luck to you and happy writing. Hope the Christmas season treats you and your family well.
Nice. Thanks. You as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Merry Christmas to you as well.
It's been
that was a mouthful.
Yeah, that was all right. I think I can handle this next one because it's short.
Yeah.
The next couple are short. My dyslexia won't suffer too bad. All right, Light Hero Kaiser. Most interesting, great chapter, mate. Can't wait for more. Kaito. This is going to be cool seeing Nabu Island from someone else's point of view. Blade Hero Light and Bow Hero Impact signing out.
I love how he almost spelled Nabu correctly, like either way, because in Star Wars it's Naboo, and in My Hero it's Nabu, but he just went Nabo.
We just combine them.
Yeah. It's like happy medium.
It's Star, you know, and you know what? In his universe, maybe they are closer to the Star Wars parallels. Who knows? Right? Okay. All right.
Wait, what's closer to the Star Wars parallels?
Never mind.
No. I'm confused now.
Never mind.
Okay.
I didn't communicate that well.
Okay.
Joe Clone. Nothing but good feelings in this chapter. I get that Kudai is apprehensive about it, but about it all having it all work out in the end makes it just oozing sweetness, like a caramel-filled donut.
No, I don't like that. I'm sorry, I don't like that idea. I like donuts, but I like donuts and I like caramel, like with chocolates and stuff. But caramel on a donut, I don't think I could do that.
Is that a brioche donut? I could do brioche donut filled with caramel. That way it's like balanced. I don't know. We're going to have to talk about this one. All right. Interesting to put in Mina's parents before the real canon does.
Yeah, I don't know anything about her parents. Like I had to guess. Like that's kind of why I didn't bother with like a character design when I introduced them, because I'm just like, yeah, she has parents. They're here. I don't want to like do something that contradicts the canon in that regard.
I don't know why, but I imagined them looking exactly like their daughter. Yeah, me too, kind of. Mr. Ashido seems like a great guy to have as the AFIL or father-in-law. Okay, yeah.
I think at some point they mentioned that she gets like the pink skin and hair. I can't remember if it's from her mother or father, but it's just like it doesn't have anything to do with her quirk. Like it's just a genetic trait that she inherited.
It's from one of her parents.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So Kudai has spilled the tea on his NDE, near-death experience. That one about how I would have expected. I haven't seen many explanations for that caliber that completely fall on the floor and shatter. So kudos to Kudai. Now, I just realized I need to see 2 heroes because I haven't yet.
He messaged me after this. He was like, I got the wrong movie. He still needs to see the World Heroes Mission movie.
Oh, the World Heroes Mission, yeah.
Yeah. He's seen the first 2. He and I watched the second movie together.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, so this one takes place during the second movie. This arc that's coming up.
The chapter that's about to happen.
All right. Thank you, Joe Clone.
Thank you.
All right, Silly Kita. I was about to ask if this was the end of the phase, given how this seems like an epilogue style chapter, but I also realized that if that were the case, you would have announced it either on your podcast or in the Omaki section of this chapter.
Yeah, not the end of this phase.
You mentioned that this phase is about self-acceptance, which Kudai seems to have accomplished at this point in time, given how he was able to face his family and move more fully embrace his future with Mina. If I missed something, which I probably did, I'll be very curious to know exactly what was missing for him to be able to fully accept himself. That's an interesting thought. So for me, the way I see it is self-acceptance. It is a roller coaster. And when things are peaceful, it's easy to be like, okay, things are good. I'm feeling good about who I am and what I'm doing and the choices I'm making. But as soon as life gets a little too chaotic and stressful, that's what really tests whether it's true self-acceptance, as you say, right? And so I think he really, now that he seems like he's pretty balanced right now, there needs to be some kind of conflict or intensity or danger that will really test where he's at, right? Because, when times are easy, we've talked about, what's that saying? Good times produce
weak men produce hard times produce strong men produce good times.
Yeah, so, just as an individual, thinking about how, there's times when I feel like I'm doing really well with, my faith or my walk in, my quiet times, and then something happens that's insanely stressful or upsetting, and all of a sudden I backslide and I realize, oh wow, I'm probably not in as good of a place spiritually as I thought I was. And that really tests okay, where am I gonna fall? What direction am I gonna fall into when I'm being tested in this way? So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I don't think I really have anything to add to that. Of course he seems like he's self-acceptant at this point. Things are relatively easy for him. He overcame all the massive hurdles that were put in front of him. It's
painful going to see his mom and dealing with that, but at the same time, he's
not constantly facing life and death.
Yeah, he's got a little respite so he can chill and just kind of figure out who and where he is right now. Okay. The visit to his mother was not something I would have guessed was coming, but with the grand majority of his surprises, I quite liked it. This was a great blend of awkwardness and natural interaction. I don't have any family or friends in the Slammer, so I can't exactly make a call based on experience, but that's more or less how I could see such a visit panning out.
I don't either.
I do. So technically you do, because you're married to me.
Okay.
I have multiple. Also, Mama Hikari telling her boy to go and kick some ass after their visit got cut short was pretty great moment.
Yeah, I like that. It's such a little thing where he's like just the little boy in him kind of comes back out and he's looking at his mom. He's looking at his mom for permission to go beat up the bad guys.
I loved how it took literally one threat from Kai to get an entire prison wing to stand down and fall in line. Really speaks to the influence that he's beginning to wield in the world of heroes and villains.
Yeah, that was fun. Getting to see him flex a little bit. I enjoyed that a lot.
All right. Mina's parents were very sweet, and it's great that they're not trying to make things harder for the pair when things have already been so difficult for them. That little bit with Kudai's missing his dad definitely gut punched me, especially after he started to make up with his mother. But it really does make sense for it to be one of those things that sneaks up on the character and the reader by proxy. Very nice touch, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, he's had to deal with his anger and acceptance and, just all those stages of grief after finding out, not only losing his dad, but finding out what he did and why he died, And so I think now that he's made peace with his mom, he's kind of allowing himself to feel those feelings with his dad. And that's a hard one, that, you know. And so, all right. Okay, now Shukin.
Oh boy.
We've heard Kudai talk about him a few times, but the only scenes we'd had him in were at the Hogasha's funeral and when Mom was being arrested. Even then, he wasn't in for very long, if he even had anything to say, so I kind of just attributed him to being a background / plot device character.
Okay.
Y'all know how much I love Akurui, but this guy took the hilarity level to a 13 out of 10.
Oh, man.
Where did you find this guy? He plays so well off of everyone in the conversation. Mina's spontaneity, Kudai's confidence, and of course, Akurui's sass.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he's almost like the Ling to Ed and Al. Like in terms of that dynamic.
I love that. That's funny.
Like everybody's talked about how like they see like the Ed and Al dynamic between Kudai and Akurui. So I'm like, okay, like if I have to use that terminology, then I'd liken him to Ling.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
One might still take him as a plot device just for the summary, but for me, he made an almost instantaneous transition to his own fully fledged character. Him being there to support his cousin in just the way he needed in that moment really speaks to how well they must regard one another and how they grew up. It was a really beautiful moment, truly.
Thanks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he just reminds me of, I've said it before, he reminds me of a family member we have. So, all right. Side note, that last comment from Mina at dinner. Oh, man, I got embarrassed for the boys right there. Same. I was blushing when he read that to me. I don't know if Shukin's going to recover from that one for a while.
He's not. He's not.
Now, as if this chapter weren't already wonderful enough, we got Kudai receiving his parents' rings for him and Mina to wear someday. That would have kept a smile on my face if I didn't remember that probably won't happen. Oh, gosh. I mean, maybe she'll get to wear the engagement ring, but I don't see the pair of them getting to put the wedding bands on each other. Damn it. Why do these happy chapters have to make me so sad?
Crying sad face.
Nabu Island, here we go. Can't wait to see what surprises you've loaded this arc with, as I no doubt you have.
Well, yeah, man, I do have some surprises in this arc, including an original villain. I shared the character design with some of the people on Discord already, but I'll be putting it up on my Instagram probably before the new year ends, I think.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, I'll try to time it so that that the image gets out like before the actual chapter where she appears releases, but I got a couple of surprises in store for this.
All right, well, thank you, Silly Kita.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your reviews.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go ahead and get the movie arc started, so we'll be back in a bit.
From the moment I reached the other side, I could not hide from the great divide. I can't turn back time, I must know what's mine. Get back what I lost, no matter the cost. Is there no way home? Is there no way
UA Hero Agency. The sun was almost always shining above the clear skies of Nabu Island, creating a warm atmosphere that was a far cry from the wintry cold that gripped the mainland at the moment. It was so warm, in fact, that the arriving intern heroes hadn't even needed to bring their winter costumes, for those who had them made. Class 1A of UA High School had come in to fill the role of professional heroes due to the retirement of an older pro who could no longer keep up with the rigors of the job. Under normal circumstances, the government would have replaced the man with another hero who was starting to slow down, or else a greenhorn just getting their feet under them, but these were not normal times. Heroes were spread thin these days, but the needs of the people still had to be met, so the government had decided to sponsor the Work Recommendation Program for Hero Corps students still in high school. It allowed the students with provisional licenses to work as professional heroes without any pro-hero supervision, so long as it was an area with low crime rates and populations. It seemed like a solid win-win for the Hero Society that desperately needed it ever since the retirement of All Might. The students got time off from classes to get real-world experience in their chosen profession, as well as decent wages for their efforts, and the government could afford to scout out sidekicks from agencies that were more ready to strike out on their own and bolster the flagging numbers of pro-heroes out on the streets, keeping threats like the League of Villains at bay. The residents of Nabu had readily welcomed the new heroes, many of them excited to see just what the next generation of champions looked like. Of course, one of the students in particular had much more renown than the others, so the first day on the job had proven to be a fairly interesting one for him. The heroes had just finished moving into the building that would be their home for the month, and were getting their hero costumes on when they were greeted by the mayor in the office, which had 20-odd computers and phones for the young heroes to be able to monitor situations on the island, all native allowing them to respond to any request for help swiftly and efficiently. "Good morning, heroes," said the mayor, a nondescript man in his 50s. He moved to shake hands with Ida and Yayurozu, since they would be mostly running the administration side of things. "We on Nabu Island are ever so grateful for you coming and filling in for Gigagear. He will be missed, but I'm sure that we're in capable hands." "Yes, sir," Ida answered enthusiastically. "We'll do our absolute best to live up to your expectations. Please tell your community that we are willing to help however a hero can and should," Yayurozu added with a charming smile. "Glad to hear it," the mayor chuckled. He seemed like a friendly enough person, Kodai thought, as he walked toward his desk, having just finished using his quirk to charge his sword's power cell. He was stopped when the mayor moved a little closer to him and asked, "Hold on, I've seen you on TV, haven't I?" "A few times, probably." Kaminari grinned as he stood next to Kodai, who looked a little hesitant at the older man's approach. "He was this year's sports festival winner, and he was in that interview with Gang Orca after they busted a big-time smuggling ring. Plus, he fought one of those Nomu monsters at the same time as Hawks and Endeavor right after the Billboard charts announcements. He also took on a crazy Yakuza gang last semester, believe it or not. You'd know him as Kai." "Ah, yes," the older man said excitedly, as he moved forward to shake hands rapidly with the off-guard young hero. "I had no idea we'd be receiving such an accomplished hero for the interim. Truly, it is an honor and a privilege to meet you, young man." The honor's all mine," Kodai answered as he did his best to keep up with the enthusiastic greeting. "I'll do my best to live up to your expectations here on Nabu Island, sir." "It'll do the people good to know that we are in such capable hands," the mayor said jovially as he finally released Kodai's hand. "I know many of them have had reservations about having such young heroes come to help us, but now I'm sure that they'll rest easy." Kodai frowned a little bit at that. Whether or not the man realized it, he had just snubbed the majority of his classmates, and he found himself not liking that much. This led to him saying, "I'm not alone in this, sir, nor any of my friends less capable than I. Nabu is in the hands of the UA Hero Agency, not that of the Guardian Hero." The mayor, to his credit, realized his mistake as he registered Kodai's words, along with the somewhat disgruntled looks that some of the other young heroes were now trying to hide. "My apologies," he said with a quick bow in their general direction. "My excitement overcame me for a moment and I forgot my manners. Let me say once again, I am relieved to have the help of every one of you from UA High School." This seemed to mollify the lot of them, except for Bakugo, who remained scowling as he walked past all of them to set his gauntlets down on the floor by his desk. Of course, not much could pacify the volatile blonde, so his peers paid him no mind as he grumbled something unintelligible under his breath. Less than an hour into having established their base and communications, the agency was ringing with requests in addition to the standard duties that Yayurozu and Ida had set up for the class. Todoroki, Sato, Sero, Shoji, Asui, Kurai, and Yang were assigned to patrolling the local beach, while Ruby and Tokoyami would patrol the island on a larger scale, being two of the heroes with the quirks that would let them get around easily and quickly through most any terrain. Though they would assist at the tourist speech if needed. Everyone else would remain at the office to answer phones and heed the requests as necessary, which had somewhat disgruntled one Mina Ashito, who wanted to do patrols with her boyfriend. To that, Ida had initially shot her down vehemently on the grounds that their relationship could prove distracting from their duties, though Yayurozu had eventually convinced him that the two did work well together, and they should be given a chance to at least do a patrol once they had gotten their feet under them. He agreed to let them work together after they had settled in more as an agency, though he warned the both of them he would tolerate no screw-ups on their end. Kurai had made a rude gesture in response, claiming that his mechanical arm was acting up when Weiss scolded him for his behavior, and dashing out of the office before Ida could get on his case again. "We should try to do a patrol or a bigger job as Team Lightning Drop," Ochako said cheerily after returning from a job in the earlier afternoon. "It'd be good for us to get some name recognition, you know?" "I'm for that," Mina grinned, along with Izuku, who looked excited by such a prospect. "Later, people," Ida called out from where he and Yayurozu were working. "We need to assure the locals that we can handle their issues as individuals, possibly as pairs, before we start showing off our teams." "Boo," Ruby said before she blew a raspberry and dashed out the door, also intent on avoiding a lecture from the class president. "What has gotten into them?" Ida grumbled as he peered at a new email request. We're here to work, not show off. For heroes, the two can go hand in hand. Blake pointed out as she slid her katana onto her back, having received a request for a farm that would require her to cut hay in large amounts. That, and we're still kids who would just want to have a little fun. Weiss's head jerked up toward her comrade before she gave a little smile and asked, Did Blake just suggest that we have fun? I think Yang's going to have a conniption fit that she missed this. Whatever, Blake said with a roll of her eyes before she left the building. Kai was standing to the entrance of the biggest changing room on the beach side, where he had started to notice a pattern only 30 minutes after starting a casual sweep of the area, eyes on the lookout for any trouble. Given that they were all at a warm beach, there was bound to be plenty of swimwear that could catch one's eye, so Kurdai found himself being grateful for the first time that his girlfriend had teased him so often about his aversion to seeing girls with more skin exposed than not, numbing him to his embarrassment. Of course, he was still principled enough not to look at anyone longer than absolutely necessary, though not everyone shared his sense of discipline. Hey, you two hotties want to get up to some trouble with us? Asked a young man to a pair of young women in bikinis, both of whom were looking uncomfortable. He had a friend beside him who was also wearing a lecherous grin, and Kai sighed in exasperation because of it. Glad I don't have to deal with these types on the regular back at UA. The young hero thought as one of the girls made an excuse and began to leave with her friend. Seeing that the two men had no intention of letting them go without a scene, he stepped forward just as they started to chase the women, putting himself between the two parties, his robotic arm raised toward the men as an indication to stand down. That's far enough, he said firmly as they faltered, clearly wondering just who was getting in between them and their idea of a fun time. Clearly, the ladies prefer class to crass, so I'd recommend it fishing in a different part of the ocean. Who the hell are you? Demanded the second man, clearly disgruntled by the fact that some random kid was meddling in his and his friend's afternoon. This ain't your business. In spite of his words, he seemed wary of the robotic limb being leveled at him. Or rather, he seemed apprehensive about a confrontation with somebody who had suffered enough to need a replacement arm. The numerous scars visible on the kid's body also served quite well as a warning against trying to pick a fight so quickly. I'm a hero, so I'm pretty sure interfering in what looks like harassment is my business. Kai replied in the same tone he had been using while lowering his arm. Go enjoy a different part of the beach before I stick you someplace where the sun don't shine. You're a hero, the first man scoffed. Never seen you around here before. Let's just say the agency I'm with is passing through. Kai shrugged, making subtle motions with his left hand for the girls to move along, just in case there was trouble. Your old local hero may have retired, but my friends and I are here to keep an eye on his stomping grounds. If you really need to look me up, though, I'm the guardian hero from Mustafa. Kai. Kai, repeated the man, a spark of recognition lighting up behind his eyes. Wait, that kid that was in a big fight in Fukuoka alongside Endeavor and Hawks a couple of months back? Yep. The two men looked at one another, gave the young hero a once-over, taking note of his metal arm and costume before looking back at each other while paling. The next instant, they bolted away from Kai, shouting over their shoulders, We're sorry! The guardian hero gave a snort of satisfaction, accompanied by a slight grin at the sight. That went all right, he thought as he turned around, hoping to see that the two girls would have taken his advice and left beforehand. They hadn't. Oh my gosh, you're Kai? Exclaimed one of the girls, a brunette in an orange two-piece suit and a light hoodie as she stepped closer than the boy was comfortable with, her eyes alight with excitement. I've been following you since the Yakuza incident. I never thought I'd get a chance to meet you, though. Oh, you saw that? He asked a little unsteadily as her friend, a girl with freckles and orange hair, also stepped closer with a similar expression on her face. Yeah, I've got a friend who lives in the district where it went down. The first girl nodded rapidly as she reached into her jacket pocket. You and that other hero look so cool. Thanks. Yeah, after Rin told me about you, we were super surprised to see you in that fight in Fukuoka, said the other girl. I thought she was just talking you up, but you were amazing. We started following your fan base online. We were totally shocked when we found out you were in high school like us. You really are cool. Hey, Kai? The girl named Rin asked shyly as she pulled the phone from her pocket. No one's been able to get a selfie with you yet for the fan website about you, so would it be cool if we snap one real quick? Oh, yeah, the second girl exclaimed excitedly. Please? That'd be so awesome. He hesitated, but he was pragmatic enough to know that he should start expecting things like this to become commonplace if his career continued as it had been. So he decided to accommodate their request. Sure, he said while trying to wear an easy smile, with more success than he would have thought he would have. Sweet! Both the girls giggled as they got on either side of him, Rin holding the phone at an arm's length at an angle to better include all three of them and the beach behind them. Kodai did his best to maintain his smile as the girls drew closer to him than he was really comfortable with, but again, he knew this kind of thing wasn't going to go away anytime soon. Rin took about 5 pictures before she was satisfied, and Kai stepped away quickly as he thought was polite, glad to have his own personal space back. Before he could bid them farewell, however, Rin had one more favor to ask of him. "Can you sign my hoodie?" she asked hopefully. She held out her right arm. He said with a slightly rueful chuckle. "I don't have a marker on me right now. Sorry. I would otherwise." "Excuse me." The trio turned to see a young couple approaching with smiles on their faces and a backpack on the man's shoulder. "I got a marker in my bag if you need it," he said as he shrugged off the pack. "Couldn't help it over here, sorry." No problem," Kai said with a relieved grin as he accepted the marker once it had been offered, turning back to Rin, who was practically bouncing on the balls of her feet with excitement. "Okay, miss, where at?" "Anywhere on the arm is cool," she said as he readied the writing instrument. All right. He moved to pen his hero name on her forearm as he was more comfortable writing there than anywhere else. As soon as he was done, the girl let out a little squeal of delight and showed it off to her friend, who was looking down at her outfit and apparently realizing there wasn't really anywhere for Kai to sign without breaking some serious personal boundary rules. "Hey, is it okay if Tamara grabs her hat for you to sign?" Rin asked hopefully, realizing her friend's dilemma. "I won't take a sec," the ginger girl promised when she thought that Kai might refuse. As it was, he hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "I can take another minute, but then I really should get back to watch duty." "Thank you!" Tamara ran off toward the lockers with a huge smile on her face as she did. "Sorry to make you guys wait," Kai said as he turned back toward the couple, who was still smiling good-naturedly at him. "I shouldn't have volunteered your pen any more than it already has been." Keep it," the man said with a small wave of his hand. "I think you'll probably need it more than me." "Kai, right?" "Yes, sir." Don't call me sir. I'm not old enough," the man chuckled. "If you want to pay me back, though, would you mind signing my cap? I know I've heard your name a couple of times on the news. I get the feeling your career's going to go far. Be kind of cool to have something from you before you, really hit it big." "Yeah, of course," Kai said as he took the offered hat, quickly signing the bill of the cap the same way he had signed Rin's hoodie. "There you go." "Thank you," said the woman next to him. "We don't get a lot of cool heroes around here on Nabu, so we appreciate you taking the time to indulge us like this." "That's my pleasure," Kai said sincerely as they picked up their bag and made to leave. "Enjoy the beach, folks." "Will do." With that parting comment from the man, the couple was off with a wave, leaving Kai with a marker and a smiling Rin. Kai?" she suddenly asked when Tamari didn't immediately come back. "How long are you going to be on Nabu?" "About a month," he answered readily. "After that, the government should have a more permanent replacement for you guys." "Oh, that's not very long," she said with a little pout, which Kai had to keep himself from laughing at. "Well, might as well try anyway." "Try what?" "Can I have your number?" she asked hopefully, stunning him and causing his cheeks to turn very red. "I don't know what a hero's schedule looks like, but you gotta have some time off, right? Would you like to grab dinner sometime?" Her face was also tinted red, and Kai realized that it was taking a lot of courage for her to ask this of him. He almost felt bad for her as he shrugged with a slightly rueful smile and answered, "I'm really flattered, Rin, but I don't think my girlfriend would like that very much." "Girlfriend?" the girl repeated, her cheeks turning absolutely scarlet. "You have... Oh my god, I'm so sorry and embarrassed." She quickly covered her face in shame just in time for Tamara to return with a floppy sun hat and a big smile. "Sorry that took so long," she said a little breathlessly. "Stupid lock wouldn't come undone." Rin, you okay?" Yeah," she mumbled as she peeked out at Kai from between her fingers as he focused on signing the hat for Tamari. "Just sticking my foot in my mouth, like usual." "Huh? Wait." The ginger girl glanced between the two of them, the pieces falling into place fairly quickly. "Oh man, did you?" "Nothing I wouldn't have done if I had met a few choice heroines before I became a hero myself," Kai said as he gave Rin another apologetic smile. No hard feelings?" "No, of course not," she said with an emphatic shake of her head. "Whoever she is, she's super lucky." Kai was about to say that he was the lucky one, then decided against it, as it would probably come across as rubbing salt in the wound. Instead, he decided to ask, "Does my fan page go back far enough to cover my official debut as a licensed hero interning under FATCOM?" "Uh-huh." Tamari nodded quickly as she happily accepted her hat back from the boy. "It actually got started up after your win at the sports festival. Why do you ask?" "Well, I'm not available, but the guy from my class that I worked with, Red Riot, might be willing to show a lady a good time," Kai answered as he kept his gaze on the embarrassed Rin. "He's honestly a cooler guy than me. Saved my life a couple of times, believe it or not. I could definitely put you two in touch if you're interested." "Oh yeah, I remember reading a little bit about him." Tamari nodded while Rin finally lowered her hands, though her face was still red. "He seemed like a good hero too. Like I said, he's a good guy and he's very single." Kai grinned. "What do you say?" Rin hesitated before blushing again and saying, "Oh, why not? I've already gone in and embarrassed myself a ton." "Cool," Kai said, happily to have at least made the effort to smooth things over with the disappointed girl. "Write down your number. I'll get it to him tonight after I finish my patrol." As he spoke, he grabbed a flyer from a nearby desk and held the marker out to the girl, who took the two items shyly.
So who's the lucky lady? Tamari asked, unabashed. Is it another hero from UA? Yeah, Kai nodded, glad that he could at least talk about his girlfriend without it seeming like he was just trying to use her existence to stave off admirers. Her name is Ashid Queen. We've pretty much been going out since the beginning of the school year. She's here on the island, so I'm sure you'll see her at some point before we leave. Ooh, can I ask about all the details? Tamari asked eagerly as Rin handed the paper and marker back to Kai, who pocketed both items quickly. This will make for a great add to the online forums. Sorry, ladies, Kai answered as he held up his hands in a halting gesture. I'm not one to kiss and tell, plus I really should be getting back to work. Aw, man, Tamari complained, but she was smiling, so Kai doubted she was actually disappointed in him. Well, thanks for all your time, Kai. It was really awesome to meet you. Yeah, thanks, Rin said as she bowed to him. I'm really sorry again. As she straightened up, Kai gave her another smile and said, There's nothing to be sorry about, Rin. I just hope you can still enjoy the beach today. For sure, she said with a nervous smile as she and Tamari went to walk back toward the lockers. Just as soon as we put this stuff back in our lockers so it doesn't get ruined. All right, then, he said as he waved farewell. Later. Bye. As he left the small building, Kai was somewhat surprised to see Tailman regarding him with a slight grin and folded arms. How long have you been standing there? Kai asked his friend. Not long, but I caught the gist of it all, the other boy said as they moved to resume their sweep of the long beach. Here for less than 8 hours. You're already breaking hearts. Kai turned a pained eye on his companion before saying, You're going to tell Mina about this, aren't you? Only if you don't give that number to Kirishima. Yeah, that'd be fair. The rest of the day saw Kai helping several residents with various incidents, from locating lost items, for which his divine eye was incredibly helpful, to pulling apart a handful of men who'd had a little too much to drink. He and the others on the beach were kept fairly busy, so it felt as though time passed them by quickly, and before they knew it, the sun was setting, signaling the end of their workday. The 7 of them who had been assigned to the beach gathered by one of the main roads, all of them glad to be heading back to the office that would double as their living quarters for the next month. So we're all in agreement, Yang said, unprompted and of no one in particular, as they headed up the road, waving at a few passerbys as they did.
About what, Rivet?
Asui inquired as she gave the other girl a blank look. That Hikari's a lady killer, the blonde snickered, causing the dark-haired hero's shoulders to sag and his face to fall. You told them about that? He asked Ojiro in a deadpan. He didn't have to, Sarah grinned. Every other time we looked up, you were signing something and talking to someone. I'd be annoyed, but it was kind of funny how flustered you kept getting. It was true that a good portion of Kodai's day had been spent interacting with the beachgoers. It was honestly a lot more attention than he had been expecting to get, and he still wasn't quite sure how he felt about it. He knew that he had some renown, but because he lived on UA campus, he hadn't had a lot of opportunities to interact with civilians since his battle at Fukuoka, so he had underestimated his popularity. He found it a little overwhelming, especially since he wasn't a fully fledged pro yet. Still, if this keeps up, I don't have a solid following after UA. He thought as he rolled his eyes at his friends, several of them who were chuckling at his embarrassment. I'd have more than enough recognition to get a successful start in my own agency. We came to this island to be heroes, not to show off, Todoroki reminded his friend, though he seemed the least concerned with the amount of attention that Kodai was getting. Hopefully the excitement will wear off soon and Hikari can do his work without getting interrupted. Here's hoping, his friend agreed, glad that there was at least one person who wasn't going to give him grief. I don't know, based on all the giggling girls and social media hits, I wouldn't count on this stuff going away anytime soon, Yang said as she held up her phone, which displayed a number of tags that registered with Kai's name on the internet, much to his embarrassment. That many? He groaned, starting to fear for his privacy whilst living on the island. That's what you get for being so flashy, Yang giggled as she put the phone away. Lots of photos of cute girls, too. Ooh, Ashido's gonna love this. Ah, crap baskets. As it turned out, Kodai needn't have worried, much to his relief and his friend's disappointment. Of course all the local cuties wanted a selfie with the hottest new hero on the scene. She was laughing after he had told her about his day. You seriously didn't realize how much of a local following you had? No, he said, not sure if he should be waiting for the other foot to drop now that his initial relief had passed. I mean, I know a lot of people know about my fight in Fukuoka, but I figured that in a remote place like this, no one would care. Aw, you're cute when you're flustered, Mina giggled. I'd almost forgotten what you looked like when you're all worked up. I need to start trying again. Please don't. I think it's great that you're getting recognized for all your hard work, Kodai, Ochako said with a smile as she walked up, hands joined with Izuku. Well, to be fair, I wasn't the only one they were excited about, he said as he pointed his gaze at their green-haired friend. Deku has a few admirers, too. Wait, really? Izuku exclaimed, looking somewhere between nervous and excited, given how Kodai's day had gone. Yeah, don't worry, I let the ladies know you're spoken for, he assured his friend, causing both him and his girlfriend to let out sighs of relief. They tensed up again when he added as an afterthought, out loud. I'm not sure that's going to stop all of them, though. Man, so while we're busting our butts all over the island, Hikari's getting fawned over by all the girls in swimsuits? Kaminari complained. I want beach duty tomorrow. And how well's your quirk going to mix with the seawater, dunce face? Bakugo grumbled as he walked past. Out of all of them, he was the only one who was irritated by the fact that they had been stationed at an island with such a low crime rate. As such, he had refused to go out on any jobs that sounded like they didn't involve some level of violence, which had so far amounted to 0 tasks. Given that he was surly on a good day, Ida and Yaoyorozu thought it best to let him simmer for a little while before turning him loose on the peaceful population of Nabu Island. Kaminari was cursing the fact that Bakugo was right while his friends were laughing at his disappointment. As this was happening, Kodai approached Kirishima with the paper he had stashed in his pocket earlier. Hey man, got a second? He asked his peer after he made sure that Ida wasn't close enough to be listening. Yeah, what's up? The redhead asked. I'm sure you heard earlier, but I got to know a few of the locals, and one of them wanted me to give you this, he said as he handed Kirishima the paper with the girl's number on it. Her name's Rin. She seemed really nice. Her and her friend first found out about us from our time at Facum's agency. Wait, she's got a friend? Kodai was a little startled to see that Kaminari was a little closer than he had realized. Is she hot? I'm not dignifying that with an answer, he replied as Kirishima took the paper with a surprised expression. In any case, I've done my bit. Thanks, man, Kirishima said with a somewhat sheepish grin. Wow, I never thought I'd already have fans out here, much less in a place like this. Well, the Yakuza incident was kind of a big deal, so I guess it's not too weird that those of us who were involved would have something of a rapport. His friend shrugged. Patting Kirishima on the shoulder, he walked past, saying, I'm gonna hit the shower, pal. It's been a hot day out there, and I stink. As he walked away, Mina sidled up to him and said in a lowered voice, You totally used Kirishima as a shield for this girl, didn't you? Yeah, and the problem is that we only have so many available guys in our class, he muttered under his breath. We gotta see if we can do a patrol together tomorrow, or else people are gonna think I'm just making you up. I will be more than happy to make public claims on you, buddy. She giggled as she let him go toward the boys' shower room. The next day, Yaoyorozu and Ida started sending the others out in groups for certain jobs to expedite the completion times for more difficult tasks presented to them. Mina and Kodai took this opportunity to go on a handful of jobs together, with only token resistance from Ida. Just don't do anything to sully our school's name, he called as they headed out the door with big smiles on their faces. Who, us? Mina laughed before the door shut behind them. Because Kodai had a license to drive his motorcycle, he had brought the vehicle with them to the island, which let the two of them get to a road where a landslide had occurred with great speed. Man, I forgot how much fun it is to ride with you, Mina said, her voice coming in clearly through the radio that Akarui had built into their helmets. In spite of the wind rushing past them, they were going well above the speed limit, but since they were heroes en route to what qualified as an emergency, Kodai knew they could get away with it. When he had first come to UA, he had been a stickler for the rules almost as much as Ida, but even if Mina had loosened him up, one thing that he had always loved was pushing past the speed limits when no one was looking. Now that he had a legitimate excuse to speed, he was going to take full advantage of it. Kai and Acid Queen skidded to a stop in front of a small crowd of people who had gotten out of their cars and were waiting for the road to be cleared of the large rock slide that was impeding their path. Look out, peeps, UA heroes are on the scene, the melting heroine declared as she and her boyfriend took off their helmets to set them on the bike and stride forward confidently. The incident had occurred on a road that overlooked the ocean, so there were no properties below that the two teenagers would have to worry about damaging. The crowd was quick to welcome them with friendly smiles and a few waves, even as they stepped aside so that the two of them could go to work. Kai glanced up at the pile in front of them, as well as the deposit of rubble that was still above the road, waiting to come down if the obstruction was cleared out. Don't want to damage the road, he muttered as he held out his mechanical arm to the side, where a swirling orb of energy began to condense. Mind clearing out the stuff up there so it doesn't just come down on top of us after we clear out the street? You got it, she nodded as she aimed her fingertips up the incline. Acid geyser! A vicious solvent shot out of her hands and turned the rocks and dirt to slag. They quickly settled and stopped moving. When no more rocks or dirt started to come down the hill, she grinned and gave Kai a thumbs up to let him know that he was clear to go. Thanks, he said as he returned the smile. The orb in his hand finished charging. All right, folks, stand back. Once everyone had backed up a few more paces, he leaped forward, slamming the orb into the biggest boulder in the bunch while shouting, Rasengan! The ball exploded away from him, sending all the dirt and stone off the cliffside into the ocean below, leaving the road clear for the islanders once again. Wow! Shouted more than one of the onlookers, several of them gathering closer for a better look at their new heroes. Can we get your autograph? I saw you two on TV at the sports festival. Yo, Kai, can my kids get a pic? Yeah, sure. He answered it with an easy smile once he spotted the man asking the question. Motioning for his girlfriend to stand closer, he waited while the man set his wide-eyed kids toward the pair. Hey, guys, he said in a friendly tone as he reached out with his left hand, mindful of the fact that his robotic arm could still be unnerving to some people. What are your names? I'm Shino, said the elder of the two boys as he reached back up to the taller hero, who swiftly picked him up and set him on his shoulders, much to his delight. Thanks, mister. Hey, now, just call me Kai, he chuckled while Acid Queen picked up the younger sibling, a boy who couldn't have been any older than 3 or so. What's your brother's name? He's Nagano, Shino said in a matter-of-fact tone. He's 3 and I'm 6. Well, I guess you're already at school then, Kai asked as the father held up his phone, ready to take the photo. Uh-huh. Gonna make all your friends jealous that you got to hang out with a cool hero like this guy? Acid Queen asked with a grin. Yeah, huh? Hey, if those boys are gonna be jealous of anybody, it's gonna be the little guy getting to hang out with the pretty lady. Kai smirked, causing Acid Queen to laugh out loud. Okay, boys, big smile, the father called out before he started snapping pictures. After he was done, he moved forward and said, Thank you both. You're gonna have yourself a couple of Lifetime fans here. Aw, thanks, Acid Queen said as she handed a smiling Nagano back to his dad. You two be good for your parents, you hear? After a few more autographs and interactions, the young couple was on their way back to the office, both of them smiling widely as they traveled. You know, I was thinking, Kodai said as he took a sharp turn, causing Amina to laugh with delight at the rush of adrenaline that it gave them. What's that? She asked as soon as they leveled out. After we've passed our fighting years, maybe after Izuku passes One for All on to someone else, this place would be a pretty good area to spend our last few hero years, Kodai told her, causing her to pause in thought. I always thought I'd retire somewhere with a beach house once I got old, maybe Hawaii or the Caribbean. But it might be kind of cool to be somewhere closer to home, too. Hey, I'm going wherever you go, Mina assured him. If you want to retire by the beach, you won't have to twist my arm to do it. Glad to hear we're on the same page, he chuckled right before he felt Mina's helmet bump against his, which led him to smile more brightly. You just tried to kiss me and forgot about the helmet, didn't you? He asked as he tried not to laugh. I didn't forget, she protested. I just don't always remember.
Even if they doubt me, push me where I stand, I will say it proudly, soon you know who I am. There is something that sleeps within you, listen close. You will soon know every door that is open for you, one is closed. Soon you'll know what's on the other side.
Alright, so I would classify that one as another feel-good chapter, I think.
Yeah, I think, it opens with, everybody kind of getting into the groove of being on the island, Ida being his Ida self, which is fantastic.
Everybody making fun of him.
Yes. And it felt a lot like the movie. And I loved this movie because the characters really got to come into their own as a team.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody got a moment to shine, too.
yeah. And
I love
in a
that
way, I
aspect of
remember
the
when I
film.
first saw this movie, it reminded me of how like Team Avatar comes together and works. Everybody like kind of works together as like pieces of the same well-oiled machine by the end of the show.
Yeah.
That's how it felt for me for these characters. And it's rare that I care for a group of characters the way I care for like Team Avatar.
Yeah.
So that was like a parallel that I felt, at least when we went to the movie theater and saw this. So it's nice to kind of see everybody just kind of doing their job and having fun. And of course, Mina and Kudai complaining that they can't work on the same team.
They're not really complaining. They just want an
giving-
excuse to give Ida a hard time.
Yeah.
Because he makes it too easy.
Yeah. So is the first thing on the beach?
No, the
No.
first thing was the mayor coming to visit them.
Oh, I totally forgot
You
about
forgot
that.
about that? Yeah, yeah. Well, that scene wasn't in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the...
That's right.
yeah, like
It was
after
an awkward
Endeavor
moment.
and Hawks do the chase against the villain, it opens up on the scene with the beach.
That's right.
I decided not to cover the Hawks and Endeavor bit because that pretty much just plays out like how it did in the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to know what that was like, just go watch the movie.
I genuinely forgot about that part too.
Yeah, it's the first time. That's like the first time we saw Dobby versus Endeavor.
That's right. That's in the
Technically, it
movie?
was a clone, but even so.
That's in the movie?
Yeah, like Dobby tries to like cannonball him, and Endeavor's just like Prominence Bird, and roasts the whole truck.
Jeez, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. heard your version too many times at this point to remember the movie correctly, I guess.
But, yeah, so I decided to... Yeah, I didn't want to just jump into the beach scene, though. Like, I kind of wanted to allow some groundwork to be laid out.
Yeah.
So I figured them meeting the mayor, like, it makes sense that he would, you know, kind of want to check out, like, who's going to be helping keep control of the island.
Definitely. And I think it also, like...
Keep control, keep protection of the island, whatever.
And then you have this awkward moment of, oh, shoot, he kind of had a faux pas where he got, like, super, super overly impressed with Kudai just because he's had so much press coverage.
Yeah.
And accidentally kind of dissed everybody else.
Kudai's just kind of like, not cool, dude.
You kind of see where everybody's at, though, because, I mean, it's not, you know, he's gotten so much press coverage at this point that he's getting to be well-known.
And admittedly, he is more powerful than most of them, if not all. But yeah, the big difference between them is that he's had more press coverage. I really wanted him to make that distinction where he's like, okay, I've been in the news more, but that doesn't make these guys any less capable than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I figured the mayor would play nice after that. Like he realizes his mistake. He realizes his mistake. He's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
And he's a good guy too, so he's gonna do what he can to make sure his friends are being pushed forward in their careers as well, because the amount of recognition that they get moving forward is really going to have a
major effect on their careers.
Yeah,
like this is where it starts for them.
Yeah, so if this mayor has good things to say about them as individuals, that will really help them along the way. So I love that he kind of takes that moment to be like, it's not just me, we've got this.
I love how Kaminar is the one where it's like foot meet mouth, because he's like trying to talk Krodai up, but then he does too good of a job of it, and Krodai's just like, dude, shut up.
I know. And for me,
he means well.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, dude, that was not the correct move to make there.
All right. So then we move on to
the beach scene.
Obligatory beach episode number 2.
Is this beach episode number 2?
I thought there was one earlier. No, that was karaoke. Never mind.
Yeah, that was karaoke.
This is episode.
There's a beach episode like in the anime, but that's like when Uravity and Froppy go to the internship with Ryukyu.
Okay.
Yeah, that arc hasn't even happened yet in this story.
Okay.
So no, that's like leading up to the World Heroes mission.
My bad.
No worries.
All right, obligatory beach episode number 1 then.
Apparently, yeah. Oh no, wait! I did a beach episode.
Yeah.
That's right. I came up with one where they all went after the sports festival.
Yeah, I thought you did.
That's right. I forgot about. How did I forget about that?
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
We have another awkward moment, which, you know, he's thankfully Kudai knows enough about what it means to be a hero in this world that he's handling his first super fans that he's encountered pretty well.
I like taking a moment to like take a stab at Mineta, even though he's not in the story, because he just has that moment where he thinks he's like, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with horn dogs back on the UA all the time.
Yeah, so, you know, chases away some very rude beachgoers and, of course, makes the girls swoon. And we have him.
One of them was kind of sweet. The other one was just like, oh, man, this is cool. You're awesome. I've read about you. But yeah.
You know, being a total bro, getting that number.
Yep.
For his bro.
He likes Kirishima. He wants to do him a good turn.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's going to give him a hard time because after that, he's just being swarmed practically all day.
Yep. Yeah, like in the movie, it shows that like they're well received and like people quickly take a liking to them. But I kind of wanted to show a difference between this like, okay, these guys are new and they're cool, but what if they already knew, like, or at least knew of this person?
Yeah. I'm curious whether any of this social media attention to their location changes anything in the story, because, you know, in the original, nobody really knew where they were at. And if they did, it was just real low key. And in this, all of a sudden, a bunch of people are like taking photos of him and posting it on his fan pages. I don't know if it's gone viral or if it's just something that like, his obscure crowd that follows him would know.
That's a good. I mean, it's not an obscure crowd at this point. Like, he has followers like all over the country. People, he's a household name. People know who he is.
That's what I'm wondering. So if that'll have any impact
so
on the story.
for context for the villains that were coming into this movie, it's kind of implied that they've been off the grid for a while. They've been in hiding. So I kind of doubt that they would be paying attention to that kind of thing.
And I don't think they'd
Like, they didn't know that heroes were going to be on the island. If they'd done their research ahead of time, they would have known, oh, there's going to be heroes here.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Class 1A students show up to fight the villains, they're just, each of the villains is kind of like, huh, there's heroes here. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, even if they were expecting, I doubt they'd be looking at any big name upcoming heroes because this is such a small and, distant island. They probably
a big name hero wouldn't want to go there because there's
Yeah.
hardly any work that would make them as much money as they'd want to make.
So I think that makes sense. Okay, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's a good thought. But yeah, it wouldn't really affect them too much.
Okay.
Or at least not as far as this story is concerned.
Yeah. So then, after beach, we're like, oh my gosh, we kind of address Bakugo's pouting about not having many big jobs.
A little
Everyone's kind of hanging out at home base.
Yeah.
Lots of poking fun at Maeda. And then we have the nice little rock slide moment with Mina and Kudai.
Yeah. Ida and Yaoyorozu are like, all right, we're starting to get to know the island. If we want to get some of these jobs done faster, it does make sense if we send off like pairs of people.
Yeah, and I mean having her quirk to like melt away stuff and having his to move it, like it just makes sense in
the
this
movie.
kind of situation.
There's a beginning montage of showing them all like doing work around the
and
island.
I love it.
And in the original, it was Mina and Aoyama who took care of it, which kind of made me think, I'm like similar applications of the quirk at this point, but obviously the two of them would want to go on a job together. So if it takes two people, then let's go.
No, I love that montage. It was just such happy feels in the theater. I was so giddy.
Yeah, like that. We got to see a little bit more fan interactions. This time we kind of we get to see like Mina and Kudai handling them together, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, that was super cute with like the kids in the photo, and it also made me cringe a little bit because I'm like, oh, these poor, like I forget that there's, just like at the beginning when these guys were kids looking up to heroes, there's kids who are now looking up to them and following them. So like inevitably when he dies, it's like, what's that gonna do to all of these sweet babies who love him? I'm just like, the mom and me, like as soon as they were taking that photo and the dad's like, you have a couple of lifetime fans, I was like, oh, my heart.
I guess that was a poor choice. I didn't do that on purpose.
That hurt. That really hurt.
No.
And just as a teacher, knowing
I didn't even think about that.
Knowing how my elementary school aged kids just idolize certain people and certain characters. And like just, I mean, for example, when Chadwick Boseman
I was about to
passed,
say,
my kids were devastated because there's so many kids who just love Black Panther's character. And I mean, Chadwick Boseman was such a precious individual that he got a lot of notoriety for being a really big-hearted person.
Yeah.
And it makes me tear up a little bit because I had little boys coming into my class crying
because
after that happened. Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's, and I have a piece of artwork that's of Chadwick Boseman giving a Black Panther mask to a little boy in a hospital, and it's done from a photo, I think. And I still have little boys that get a little bit emotional when they see that piece of artwork in my room, and it's just, for me, it reminds me how kids that age just, especially if they don't have good home lives, they just really idolize individuals that they've never even really met. And so I just like killed me when the kids took a picture with him.
Yeah, like there's that, and then there's all the kids that he saved from the slaving ring.
Yes.
Like, oh man,
I mean, it's a whole nother layer to being a hero. It's not just saving people, it's who you are in their eyes and how you inspire them, just like All Might is an inspiration. You're seeing this happen. So I don't know, that one got me.
yeah like that kind of ties back to like a conversation that Kurt I had with Aizawa where he was like, I don't want to do this interview. He's like, I don't like the press. Why are you making me do this? And Aizawa just kind of, he's like, well, you got to think about, like, you know, what future do you want these people to look forward to? Are they going to have a hero who's like Endeavor, who just doesn't really care about what's happening underneath him? Or do you want to give them something better?
Yeah, and I love that because Aizawa, because of his personality and his quirk, you know, he doesn't have the desire, even though he's super brilliant and powerful. He could totally be a big name hero, but he doesn't have that desire. At the same time, he knows how valuable it is, and he's watched how
All Might's absence has affected society.
Yeah, and the whole culture has just shifted. And he sees, you know, whether this is a recent, you know, realization for him or not, he knows that even though that's not who he wants to be, he sees that in his student, and he sees the ability to inspire others in his student. And he's like, no, dude, this is important. You need to do this because we need heroes like that to inspire people. Which I just think is really special because Eraserhead being who he is and just recognizing the strengths in others, that's what makes a good teacher.
Yeah.
Is not trying to make a bunch of little clones of yourself, but identifying your students' strengths and pushing them toward, you know, sharpening
the best
those.
version of them that they can be.
Yes, exactly.
But so yeah, it was I thought we'd open up with like not a segue, a nice little introduction chapter for this arc.
Don't get used to it, friends.
Why you gotta be like that, man? Well, yeah, of course they're gonna have how many villains? They're gonna have 5 villains coming at them pretty soon here, so of course it's not gonna stay hunky dory.
Brace yourselves. That's all I'll say moving forward.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be
a roller coaster.
You guys know how much I've been looking forward to this movie, so you know I'm gonna make it nuts.
Nice little present for you guys coming here soon.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna have a Christmas sketch done for this story. Sometime in the next week or so. I'll probably release it like on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
I haven't seen this yet.
I haven't started it yet.
Oh. So that's very bold of you to say you will have a sketch with
You've
toddlers.
seen me do drawings in like 2 or 3 days.
I know, you're amazing. You crank them out. Gosh. Yeah. No, see. He's amazing because I can do that kind of thing at work when I'm like on paid time. This guy somehow does it with toddlers, and
I mean, sometimes I get paid for it.
Sometimes you get paid for it. This is true.
But
anyway, sorry.
Thank you guys very much for listening to our podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying the story so far, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Oh, that's right. Next podcast is going to be very special. It's our New Year's special.
Oh.
So it won't just be the two of us. We're going to be bringing some of you guys in from the audience to discuss, like, what do you think of the story so far? Got any theories going forward? Just highlights and all that stuff, and just checking in to see how you guys are doing.
I'm so excited to hear everyone's voices. There's
you haven't heard most of them, have you?
I haven't heard most of them. I've only talked to a couple of them before on the phone. So I usually when he's talking to you guys, he's got his headphones on, so I can't actually hear you. I can say hello, but that's about it. So I have my own headphones now, so I can sit down, and we have headphone splitters, and we can talk to you guys, and I'm stoked. So looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time, and until then, I hope you have a plus ultra holiday season. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you for the new year.